Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to D News Plus for our last episode in this series, episode 5 of 5, on tobacco. I'm Trace, and so far we've talked about the tobacco plant and why it has nicotine and where it came from and how it changed the face of the economic world, if you will. We've also talked about what's added to cigarettes and what has been added over the years and where those chemicals come from, the psychology of smoking, and today we're going to talk about vaping. If you haven't tuned into D News Plus before, this is a show where we break up a big topic into a number of different topics so that we all get it a little bit better. So make sure you go back, you subscribe, you get all of these episodes. So today, let's talk about vaping, bros and gals. Hey everybody. Vaping is not actually changing that much in the tobacco game. Whether you call it an e-cigarette or a vape pen or whatever, vaping is essentially inhaling a small amount of vapor from a heating coil. The vapor can come from a number of different things, from nicotine or marijuana concentrates to flavored nicotine-free e-liquid, but it can also be a deadly cocktail of chemicals and synthetic drugs like Flocka, which is also known as $5 Insanity. It's been around actually for a lot longer than you think, even though it's been popular for the last few years or becoming more popular or at least more visible. It's been around for more than a decade. The reason the popularity has risen is more because it's hit that tipping point, and there's a lot of marketing out there now. Nicotine users who want safe, finger quote, safe alternative to smoking cigarettes might pick up vaping thinking it's an easier way to quit or that it's better for you somehow. And it really does depend on what you're smoking. If you're smoking Flocka, it's never going to be good. But if you're looking for an alternative to cigarettes, then maybe vaping is safer. We say maybe because according to the FDA, vaping isn't regulated, right? It's not been fully studied. We don't know the risks. It's only been around 10 years, which might seem like a lot to you when you think back to what video games you were playing 10 years ago. But when it comes to your health, 10 years is nothing, because all of that depends on long-term use and how much nicotine and chemicals are being inhaled over time, and if there are any benefits to that or other drawbacks, and those things just haven't been studied. There have been various reviews and tests published recently. Public Health England found e-cigarettes were 95% less harmful simply because there was no tobacco in them, which typically would affect the heart and the artery functions. Some tests have shown that secondhand smoke from vaping, even though it seems like there's a lot more of it by volume, is actually less than an actual cigarette. Because people think that they're safe, however, and there's no proof that they are, more kids are beginning to use these products. The CDC reported that middle school and high school users of vape products tripled from 2013 to 2014. In a year, it tripled. The number of youth using e-cigs has surpassed the number of conventional cigarettes out there in teens. But are they really safe? Is a question that no one can really answer, just because we don't have these hard studies that can tell us. E-cigs have only really been around since 2003. One study done at the Harvard School of Public Health in Boston, though, had 30 male and female smokers who ranged in age from 19 to 56. They each vaped for 5 minutes, and then they ran their tests on them. They discovered increased airway constriction in the lungs by about 8% on average. That's just 5 minutes, by the way. But more frequent, prolonged exposure could lead to serious health problems, they believe. Vaping also reduced the amount of exhaled nitric oxide, which is an indication that the lungs were becoming inflamed. Another study out of Johns Hopkins in 2015 found when researchers exposed mice to vapor from e-cigs, like a lot of it, like a lot, like 2 seconds every 10 seconds for an hour and a half a day over 2 weeks. That's how much a lot is. They found that there were over 700 billion particulate free radicals per puff in vaping. This is created from the burning of the chemicals with that heating element. And those free radicals, the researchers said, could harm tissues in the lungs. The lead researchers said that the lungs are definitely affected by the chemicals in the liquid nicotine e-cigarettes. Look, there's no government oversight when it comes to this product. Yet. We'll come back to that. So, e-liquid could have dangerous additives that you just don't know about because no one is requiring anyone to say. We do know that in some of these systems are propylene glycol, a chemical known to irritate eyes and cause respiratory infections, diacetyl, known to lead to irreversible lung scarring, and in 2014 a study found that using e-cigarettes with a higher voltage could contain more formaldehyde, which has been associated with cancer risk, and all of that's just the inhalation stuff. The juices itself could also be dangerous because you just leave them around, then a child could pick that up, and that has caused a death of at least one child in 2014. But even if you don't give it to a kid, if somebody just drinks it for some reason, the large dose of nicotine can poison people, causing vomiting and nausea. It can be really bad. Another study has found that the secondhand vape isn't an issue as much, but the emissions do cause ultrafine particles to be picked up into the lungs, which could affect pulmonary health. In the end, the FDA's Center for Drug Evaluation and Research has not said that e-cigarettes are either safe or effective. They have not said that they are either of those things, but people have talked about it as a way to help quit smoking. But that's not actually true. E-cigs aren't really a threat to cigarettes. It's a way to keep people smoking. Many e-cigarette users still smoke regular cigarettes. They just picked up e-cigs in addition to their other habit. E-cigs actually diminish the rate of quitting by about a third. And maybe e-cigs aren't in a fight against big tobacco, but are actually fueling big tobacco. Because if people are giving up smoking, they have to try something new, so the tobacco companies get on board. Tobacco company Philip Morris International, Inc. hired hundreds of scientists and engineers and former FDA workers to try and create a healthier way of smoking. Because it's good to be suspicious. Their findings are not published on typical peer-reviewed journals like Nature or the American Journal of Public Health, and some suspect that they hire former FDA workers because that way they can get that path to regulation cleared. They know the system works, they know how to work their way through it, and it's part of this buying credibility that Philip Morris is trying to do. A lot of people use vapes. We're not deriding them that. It is their choice. But there are new rules and legislation that might take them down a peg. One proposed FDA rule would require federal approval for most flavored liquid nicotine juices and e-cig devices. The Wall Street Journal predicted that this new regulation could require extensive data collection on each item sold and could cost a single business between $2 and $10 million, affecting an estimated 8,000 to 12,000 vape shops in the United States alone. In 2015, 200 bills across 40 states addressed vaping regulation in some way, either by taxing or banning or prohibiting or requiring licensing or labeling or child-resistant packaging. Any number of these things could have been affected by these laws. And to top it all off, the National Park Service, one of my favorite groups, what up guys, just announced that it would ban vaping from its parks. So it may only be a matter of time until it's just as stigmatized as tobacco used to be. And still is. So tobacco in all of its different forms, from a liquid in a little vial inside of a glow-in-the-dark thingy that you smoke with your friends that's shaped like a lightsaber, all the way back to a plant growing in the Andes, has shaped our world, it's affected our brains and our bodies, it's spread across our entire planet, and it's affected our culture and our economics and all of these different things. And laws are being made as we speak to handle it. Right now, and the future of our obsession with sucking chemicals that may or may not be on fire into our faces. What do you guys think about all this? Did you learn something about tobacco in this series? Let us know down in the comments. If you didn't listen to the whole series or watch the whole series, make sure you do that. You can also come find me over on Twitter. I'm at Trace Dominguez if you want to talk about any of this. All of you vape commenters, I know you're going to be there. Looking forward to it. And thank you so much for tuning in. We do this every week just for you, so please subscribe.